Hello and welcome to Space Yoga Mission Control. My name is Julia and I currently work at King's College London, trying to understand ways in which we can help to protect the human body in space. And now that you've stretched your spine with Gemma, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the science behind Space Yoga Mission number 2. Gemma explained that the spine elongates in space, but there are a number of other back-related issues that arise during spaceflight as well, some of which are linked to the elongation. So spinal elongation can cause back pain as well during flight, but also on return to Earth, and also a risk of disc herniation on return to Earth as well. But aside from that, there are also issues such as atrophy, so loss of the muscle in the back and also around to the trunk, so the deep abdominal muscles as well. And also a flattening of the lumbar, so the lower back, the curvature that naturally exists in that part of the spine. On top of that, there are also operational issues. So if your spine stretches in space, then that can be an issue for the astronauts trying to get back into a suit that was created for them based on the length of their spine on Earth. There's a couple of theories as to why the spine might stretch in space. Historically, it's been thought that the elongation is related to disc swelling. So we have a number of discs, intervertebral discs, that make up the spine, and they have a certain amount of fluid inside, which is dependent on gravity. So we know that if we take gravity away, actually more fluid is reabsorbed into those discs. If you have that happening to a number of discs, it's quite easy to understand that the spine may therefore stretch. More recently, there's been argument that it might not be related to the disc swelling. It might actually be related to the loss of muscle mass in the back and in the trunk, so the deep abdominal muscles, and that loss of muscle can contribute to the flattening out of the curvature that exists in the lower back, and can also contribute to stiffness, which again in turn might lead to a more straightened spine and a lengthier spine. At King's College London, we've been working on a couple of novel areas related to helping to keep humans safe in space. One particular area we've been working on is something called the Buoyancy flotation device. It's filled with a 50% salt solution, so it's quite dense, and what it allows is for the waterbed to essentially mould around the person so they can be in a relaxed posture, and it can more accurately depict the alignment of astronauts in space. What we've been able to do with that is have people laying on that for long durations of time to try to elicit this spinal elongation, and then try to understand if our next novel area, the skin suit, can actually help to minimise that spinal elongation. So the skin suit is a skin-tight garment that was designed by engineers at MIT in America. And what it has is a number of elastic bands that run all the way from shoulder to foot. So it provides what we call axial body loading. So those elastic bands, we can all think about this. If you stretch out an elastic band, you create a certain amount of resistance. If you have that running through your body, you may be able to work against it and push against it to provide some kind of loading situation, but that also might help to keep the spine its regular length and actually helping to stop that elongation from happening, and that's something that was tested. People always ask me, why do you care about what happens to astronauts in space? They're only a small number of people and they're generally very healthy. What they don't understand is the amount that we can actually learn through astronauts in space with regards to different populations on Earth. So firstly, we know that spaceflight is an accelerated aging process. So we can understand what happens when we all age on Earth just by understanding what happens to astronauts in space. What we can also do is understand what happens to people who are in bed for long periods of time, or immobilised due to injury so they can't move, or people who might have neurological conditions. and they don't get to interact with Earth's gravity because of disruptions to their neural pathways, for example. What we can also understand by using the skin suit, because we know that that adds loading, if we can better understand what happens when you add loading, then we can further enhance our knowledge of what happens when you reduce loading or gravity, which might then further help us with future missions to Mars or a return to the Moon. Remember, your spine is key for enabling you to move around during any journey, not only spaceflight. The exercises that Gemma showed you will help you to keep your spine healthy, mobile and strong. Thank you for joining me here at Mission Control, and I hope that you continue to enjoy the rest of your space yoga mission.